U.S. Chapter 6, The South and West Transformed. How did the economy, society, culture of the South and West change after the Civil War? First section, the New South. We're looking specifically at the economy and society of the South and how is it changing. The Southern farmers and the consolidation of their political power, and that's going to impact things a little bit down the road in another couple chapters. And what was the experience of African Americans in the changing South? So when we look at the New South, we do see the South begin to transform. We are seeing new industries spreading not just into the South, but throughout the South. Probably most importantly, what we're going to see is railroads linking not just the South to itself, but also to the rest of the country. So this is 1860, beginning of the Civil War, and this is what railroads kind of looked like. If we fast forward to 1880, we can see that railroads are linking the whole entire nation. But specifically, when you look at that South, it's more interconnected with itself as well as the rest of the United States. Now, one of the downsides here is when we look at economic recovery, it's limited for some reasons that are outside of the South's control. They have to rebuild after the Civil War, so that's one problem. And if you look at industry being a three-legged stool, the South really only has one of those three legs, and it's missing the other two. Has plenty of resources, but it lacks labor. You got to remember, a very small population. A lot of it was wiped out during the Civil War. The rest of it kind of heads northward post-Civil War. So they really don't have the kinds of workers that they need. And the other thing they lack is capital to be able to invest. When we look at the farmers, cotton is still going to dominate agriculture. They're going to run into a series of problems with natural disasters and the boll weevil and all types of things like that. The other thing that's happening is socially, politically, agriculture is declining in prominence because it's being replaced by industry. So one of the things that farmers are starting to begin to do already in the early 1870s is form what they call farmers alliances. And these are really the things that they are pushing. They want free trade. They believe if you get rid of tariffs, if you get rid of protectionism, what that's going to do is it's going to allow American farmers to be able to better compete on the world market and the world stage. So even back then, farmers were really struggling with these tariffs and tariffs wars that were taking place because they get impacted more heavily than other industries. So the idea is that they can create these political, economic, and social alliances that they can work together as a group, and they're going to have a much larger voice. One farmer isn't going to make the railroad change its mind, but the entire agricultural community working together in force, almost like a labor union, is going to force railroads to negotiate with farmers. When we look at black Southerners, there are some political and economic gains that take place post-Civil War. They begin to be able to vote. Probably most importantly, what happens is they get access to education. Even though it may not be as great as maybe some of the white students are getting, still the ability to read and write gives them access to things that they never had access to before. But very quickly, what we see is the white backlash beginning. We see the growth of the KKK. We start to see the Supreme Court make a couple of rulings in terms of segregation that's going to allow the South to have this de jure segregation that's going to take place and these Jim Crow laws that are going to take over the South. And really what's going to happen is very quickly whatever gains were made are going to be reversed. And from really 1870 until 1965 or 1970, not much is going to change in the South.